we're going to be continuing off our data types, and I'm going to talk about casting. And then for the bulk of this lesson, I'll be talking about conditional statements and all the operators that we generally use within them. All right. So I guess I'll start with casting, right? So casting is essentially changing one data type to another using built-in Python commands. Sorry, functions. So for example, right, we have 5. This is a sorry a string, right? And we can change the string. And sorry, let me first save this into a variable. It's a little difficult because my recording system makes this a little laggy, but we can go print type x, and it will print out that this is a string. But we can convert x into an integer by doing this, right? Oh, that means we need another parentheses. All right, and this is now class int, and essentially that's just how casting works. There's all sorts of ways you can cast, right? You can cast with list, you can cast with bool, you can cast with string too. We can cast all sorts of different ways. But essentially, when you cast something, it has to be valid as that data type. For example, Muhammad. So let's just say string 1 is equal to Muhammad Ashik. Let me put this in apostrophes so it is now a string, right? And then we say print int string 1, and what will happen? See, it's a value error because it's invalid literal. Essentially, if we remove these quotes, this will not suddenly become an integer, right? And that's essentially what this function does. So we have to make sure it's valid. So if it's valid literal, so I put 5 here, right? And then I convert it to an integer using casting. It's now completely valid, right? And that's the essential of casting. So now we're going to talk about the bulk of our conversation today, and that is conditionals, booleans, comparison operators, logical operators, and not in operators. All right. So conditionals are essentially if-then statements, and I'm sure you guys have learned this in your math classes. This is a topic you guys should understand, I hope. If something, then do something. So this something can either be if. So this something is going to be a set of statements. So if something is true, or if something is false, then do something. This is the essential of if-then statements. And we write these in Python using conditional format. So for example, we can say x is equal to 5, right? And if x is equal to 5, then print x, right? And as you can see, it will print out 5, right? So generally, we use conditionals in this structure, right? We can also put else statements, right? Else, for example, y is equal to 6, right? And this will only run if this is not true, or if this conditional is not valid. So print y, right? And now it will print 5 still because this conditional is valid. But let's say x is equal to 4, then it will print out. It's taking a while. I'm not sure what's going on. Oh yes, it'll print out 6, right? So essentially, this is how our conditionals work, right? We can also put elif here, and we have to put a conditional after this. It's just essentially another if statement in this whole block. So elif, for example, z is equal to 10. Elif z is equal to 10. Print z, right? And instead of running the else statement now, it'll print 10 because this comes before this else statement. As I've said, Python is an interpreter, right? So things go line by line. So now let's talk about Booleans. Booleans are essentially just true, and false. These are data types, very, very important in Python, right? And the topic of these Booleans is very important because essentially, I'm going to talk about comparison operators now because in order to understand what I'm about to say, you guys have to know what comparison operators are. Comparison operators are things you put in conditionals to equate things or or prove something's greater than or less than a certain thing, or prove something's not equal to a certain thing, and they are these. So this is equivalency. This is not equal. This is less than equal, greater equal, less than, greater than. And these are our comparison operators, yes? And as you can see, I've used them throughout this conditional statement, right? And these comparison operators return something. So since as x is equal to 5, then this will return true. And the conditional statement says if true, then print x, and thus since this is false, it will not print x. But since this logical operator will return true, then since the statement is true, it'll print z. Right? Sorry, comparison operators. Logical operators are and, or, and not. Okay, and these three are very, very important in Python as well, and I'll cover them shortly right now. So let me reuse just this. If x is equal to 5, let's send this to 5, and and z is equal to 10, then print x and z. All right, and as you can see, it will print out both 5 and 10, right? Because it's printing out x and z due to this now returning true, because both of these are true, and since the statement is true, now it will print x and z. So both of these conditions have to be true. However, right, we can say we can use or as well, and now only one of these is true, right? Only x is equal to 5, not y. Y is not equal to 10, sorry. So now what? Will it print out x and y? Let's see. It will, because only one of these statements is true and only one statement is required to be true for an OR function to run. Right, and now let's do not. So not essentially reverses this. Right? If not, right, then print x equals y. Right? But it will not print x and y. Right? It'll print nothing because like this will return true, right? But it will be false now because it's not that Boolean, right? So we use the function not to reverse Booleans essentially. So a not on a true would turn into a false, a not on a false would turn it into true, right? And since this is true, but now it is false, it will not print x and y, right? That's the essential of a logical operator. So now let's talk about not in and in, and we generally use not in and in to describe lists, tuples, etc. Right? So let me delete all this. I'm sorry if it's a little laggy. It's a little laggy on my screen too. It's because the QuickTime player I'm running to record this lesson is a little laggy. I apologize. But so for in and not in, right? We make a list, right? Let's put a bunch of things in this list. Alright, and this is the, alright, we'll talk about lists a little later, but actually in the next lesson, or most likely in the next lesson at least, but we're going to cover in not-in operators right now. So we can say if 5 in list 1, then do something, right? And this will return true, right? If 5 is in list 1, x, sorry, list 1, and I'll print out list 1. And as you can see, it's printed out list 1, right? But if 5 not in list 1, then print out list 1. And again, this reverses it, so it'll print out nothing because 5 is actually in list 1, right? But this would only return true if 5 was not in list 1. And that is going to be the end of our lesson today. Thank you for watching and have a great day.